do history's most infamous secret societies really rule the world? You've probably heard that the Illuminati are working towards a new world order where a totalitarian government will rule the world, 1984 style. Or that the Freemasons helped to fake the moon landings of 1969 to hide that the Earth is flat. Cloaked in mystery, the idea of secret societies has long captured the imagination of conspiracy theorists and historians alike. The unknown is tempting. It invites speculation. So, unsurprisingly, secret societies are the subject of countless books, films, and conspiracy theories. When we don't have the answers, we try to fill in the gaps. But what do we actually know about the history of these groups that thrive on secrecy? And do they really rule the world? The Illuminati is perhaps the most famous secret society of them all, which really defeats the purpose of it being a secret. The group is so caught up in conspiracy theories that you might ask yourselves, are they even real? Well, yes, but they didn't start out as the shadowy global elite who, according to popular theories, can supposedly manipulate world events, control governments, and orchestrate assassinations. So, how did they begin? In a region called Bavaria, that's in modern-day Germany, in 1776, a man named Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Bavarian Illuminati. He was involved in an intellectual movement of the 18th century that was known as the Enlightenment. Weishaupt believed in progress, separation of church and state, and the importance of reason and liberty. Weishaupt created the Illuminati to promote these Enlightenment ideals, encouraging philanthropy and advocating for the removal of religious influence from government. So why was Illuminati the chosen name? Well, through this grouping of enlightened minds, Weishaupt wanted to provide society with a new form of illumination. Joining the Illuminati was no mean feat. Prospective members needed the full approval of existing members. They also had to be wealthy and have a good reputation. The group started with just 5 individuals, but soon grew to be a more popular and structured society. With the society's expansion, the entry requirements got even stricter. One person who greatly influenced this was German writer Baron Adolf von Koeniger. After joining the society in 1780, he helped to create initiation ceremonies and increase publicity of the group to recruit intellectuals and important members of society. At its peak, the Illuminati had between 2,000 and 3,000 members, and there were 13 degrees of initiation to become a fully fledged member. Not much is known about the activities of the Illuminati. They were a secret, after all, but we do know that the society only existed for 9 years. The Illuminati's provocative ideas and expansion soon attracted the attention of the authorities. Karl Theodor, the Duke of Bavaria, was suspicious of secret societies, seeing them as a threat to both state and church. In 1784, he banned all societies not previously authorized by law. The following year, he issued a decree explicitly banning the Illuminati, and the group was officially disbanded. From the moment the Illuminati was banned, conspiracy theories began to flourish, and that's a legacy that continues today. Considered one of the first ever conspiracy theories, in 1797, French Jesuit priest Abbé Augustin Barruel incorrectly suggested that secret societies, including the Illuminati, were responsible for the French Revolution. A year later, first US President George Washington wrote a letter where he stated that he believed the threat of Illuminati members living among the general population and disrupting society had been avoided. By trying to ease concerns, Washington inadvertently fueled more rumours that the group still existed, 14 years after they disbanded. Several other conspiracy theories have developed over the years, with the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye, being linked to the Illuminati. There have been many suggestions that the group is still operating covertly to pull the strings of global politics. The most famous theory is that the group is working towards a so-called New World Order. This is the idea that a cabal of powerful elites is working behind the scenes to reach a dystopian governing structure and manufacture global events, including pandemics and mass crime, to create unrest in society. Today, it's far removed from the original society founded in 1776, but the Illuminati has become a central name in the world of conspiracy. Despite the tantalizing theories, most historians believe the original Illuminati only achieved moderate influence before they were banned. Yet, the myth of global power continues to captivate the imagination and fuels endless speculation. And it's not just the Illuminati caught up in these conspiracy theories. The Freemasons are one of the most enduring secret societies, but they're not actually a secret. While Freemasonry traces its origins to the medieval guilds of stonemasons, the first Masonic lodges that we would recognise today didn't appear until the 1660s. From this point, the group moved from talking about trade to discussing self-improvement through moral and philosophical development. The first Grand Lodge was officially established in London in 1717, and within a decade, Freemasonry was the largest secular society in Britain. The group marketed itself as an egalitarian brotherhood, but in doing so, it excluded women. And not all men could join it either. Historically, the Freemasons have in theory accepted all men, but in practice, race and class divisions persisted, with it being largely made up of the white middle class. In the United States, two strands of Freemasonry continue to accept black and white men separately, the Prince Hall strand for black men and the Grand Lodges for white men. The organisation has historically attracted some influential people. Its members have included the likes of US President George Washington, Founding Father Benjamin Franklin, and Britain's Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Of course, with the involvement of such powerful political figures, the Freemasons have become the subject of many conspiracy theories. Just like the Illuminati, the Freemasons have been accused of forming a global network of power, influencing major historical events. Remember Abbé Augustin Barruel, who blamed the Illuminati for starting the French Revolution? Well, he thought the Freemasons were involved too. And he's definitely not the only person who has been suspicious of the Freemasons' influence. Adolf Hitler was convinced the Freemasons were in cahoots with Jewish people to work against German nationalism, and throughout the 19th century, the Catholic Church regarded Freemasonry as satanic, viewing their rituals as heretical. In 1825, Pope Leo XII issued legislation that condemned the accursed oath by which they bind those who are received into these sects, that they will reveal to none those things which pertain to those sects. In other words, he thought that the secrecy of organisations, including the Freemasons, gravely contradicted the concept of an all-seeing God who people could not keep secrets from. The most famous conspiracy theory attached to the Freemasons is the idea that they helped to fake the moon landings of 1969. This is mostly because Buzz Aldrin, the second man to ever step foot on the moon, was a Freemason and took a Masonic Scottish Rite flag up there with him. For those who think the moon landings never happened in the first place, Aldrin's Freemason connection gives them the perfect explanation. These conspiracy theories are not restricted to the past either. In recent years, Freemasons have hit the headlines with new theories emerging about their political influence and alleged cover-ups. Today, the Freemasons are much more open about their groups, posting social media content, answering questions, and hopping onto trends. But secrecy is still part of their appeal, and with that, conspiracy theories about them continue to thrive. You've seen them in Assassin's Creed, Indiana Jones, and the Da Vinci Code, wearing that instantly recognisable uniform of a white mantle with a red cross on the front. But who were the real Knights Templar? The Order of the Temple began in Jerusalem in the decades after the First Crusade of 1097 to 99. Around 1119, a small band of knights, known as the Knights Templar, pledged to protect Christian pilgrims and defend new Crusader territories. To become part of the Knights Templar, men, and yes, it's another society that's still just men, had to take 3 vows: obedience to superiors, chastity, and renouncing personal property. Members also needed to be unmarried, debt-free, able-bodied, and ready to fight. Support flooded in, and what started as a modest group of military escorts evolved into a powerful force in medieval Europe, with members taking ownership of banking systems and land. This sprawling network of power meant that at one point, the Templars were the biggest landowner in England after the king himself. As the Knights Templar gained power, they also gained enemies. One such enemy was King Philip IV of France, who, in December 1307, ordered the arrest of the Templars, accusing them of crimes including heresy and idolatry. In reality, Philip needed cash. He was deeply in debt thanks to his lavish lifestyle, and saw an opportunity to alleviate this by seizing the Templars' vast wealth. So, after a carefully planned attack, by January 1308, most of the Templars were in custody and their property had been transferred to the rival Knights Hospitaller. A few years later, in 1310, 54 members were burned at the stake for charges including the denial of Christ, spitting on crucifixes, and worshipping idols and cats. Under pressure from King Philip, Pope Clement V fully dissolved the order in 1312, and their Grand Master Jacques de Molay was also burned at the stake in 1314. So, you might be wondering what the Knights Templar have got to do with secret societies. After their suppression, legends grew around them as people speculated how Christendom's most famous warrior monks could have had such a spectacular fall from grace. Suspicions were raised about their privacy and closed-door ceremonies. Just what were they hiding? Some speculated that they could only have attained such wealth by colluding with Satan. The most famous conspiracy theory associated with the Knights Templar is that of the Holy Grail, the cup supposedly used by Jesus Christ at the Last Supper. Since the 12th century, suggestions have been made that the Templars came into possession of the Holy Grail and were its guardians. Never mind the fact that the Holy Grail isn't real. To many people in the past and present, it seemed plausible that this order of knights was powerful and respected enough to possess such a sacred object. Some stories insist that the Templars actually escaped suppression in the 14th century and continue to operate, acquiring precious relics and knowledge. And, of course, there are the rumours that members of the Knights Templar went on to form other secret societies, including the Illuminati and the Freemasons. Conspiracy theories about the order largely thrive because of archival silence. The Knights' own records were destroyed when they were suppressed, leaving us with more questions than answers. Without clear evidence, people are free to imagine all sorts of covert operations, secret brotherhoods, and powerful alliances. But really, the Knights Templar was a respected institution that fell afoul of politics, and with that, myths have endured. Whether born from ideals of enlightenment, a desire for community, or religious ideology, these groups have all left their mark on history. Do they really rule the world? No. But they do keep firing our imaginations, precisely because we are drawn in by what we don't know. If you want to learn about more like this, subscribe to the channel, check out more great content on HistoryExtra.com, or have a listen to our Conspiracies podcast series on the HistoryExtra app.